October 17th, 2006, 3:12 a.m., Albany, New York. The dispatcher's voice crackled through the radio. Unit 47, report status. Silence. The yellow cab with license plate 1 Easy, 473, had vanished off GPS. Its last ping? A rural road near the edge of Hollow Creek. No traffic cams. No phone signal. Inside that cab sat a young man named Jake Mercer, heading home from a night shift. He never arrived. He was never seen again. Into cinematic true crime, whether it's haunting fiction or real-life disappearances, finally cracked. Subscribe now and tap the bell. Missing Shadows brings the darkest mysteries to light. Albany, New York, October 16th, 2006, 11:45 p.m. Jake Mercer zipped up his Navy work jacket, said a half-hearted goodbye to his co-workers at Pine Grove Diner, and stepped outside into the chilled autumn air. Leaves crunched beneath his worn-out sneakers as he made his way to the curb, where he usually caught a cab home. He worked late-night dish shifts 5 nights a week, saving up, as he often told people, for something bigger than this town. Jake was 24, quiet, kind, the type of guy who'd offer you his umbrella during a storm and walk home soaked. He lived alone in a modest third-floor apartment near Lark Street. No criminal record, no enemies. A simple guy. Normal. That night, his phone buzzed once. A friend had texted. Still down for tomorrow? Movies at 7. Jake never opened the message. Surveillance footage from the diner's security cam showed Jake stepping into a yellow cab at exactly 12:03 a.m. He gave the driver an address he'd repeated 100 times before. 328 Montgomery Avenue. But this time, he never got there. By morning, both Jake and the taxi had disappeared. No witnesses. No crash site. Just an empty space where a ride home used to be. October 17th, 2006, 7:15 a.m. Jake's sister, Emily Mercer, hadn't heard from him, which in itself wasn't unusual. But when she called his cell, before work, it rang 5 times and went to voicemail. By noon, it went straight to dead tone. By late afternoon, the diner confirmed. Yeah, Jake clocked out like usual. Caught a cab. Emily's stomach sank. She called his landlord, no sign of him. No lights. Mail untouched. By nightfall, she filed a missing person report. At first, Albany PD treated it like a late return. A young guy who maybe crashed on a friend's couch. But Emily insisted. Jake doesn't just vanish, she pleaded. He's careful. Predictable. If he was breathing, he'd answer me. The break came 48 hours later, when they pulled traffic cam footage from the street outside Pine Grove Diner. There it was. A blurry yellow Crown Victoria pulling up. Jake entering. The taxi idling for 10 seconds. Then turning left onto Route 43 and vanishing into the night. No license plate visible. No cab company logo. Albany's 3 major cab companies denied having a driver in that area at that time. Could be an independent, one manager said, or someone running under the radar. Detectives expanded the search radius. They canvassed gas stations, sent a request to DMV for every yellow cab registered in the county. Nothing. Emily went on local news. Cried. Held up Jake's photo. He never got in trouble. He wasn't running. Someone out there knows something. A week later, the FBI joined the investigation, and still not a single trace. No Jake. No cab. Not even tire tracks. Only silence, the kind that settles in your chest like a stone and never leaves. Emily Mercer used to be the stable one. Organized. Focused. A math teacher at West Albany High. The kind of person who always remembered birthdays and color-coded her planner. But after Jake disappeared, nothing made sense anymore. Not dates, not sleep, not the way time kept moving like it didn't notice her world had stopped. She stopped teaching 2 months in. Couldn't stand standing in front of a class pretending to care about equations when her little brother was gone. Her apartment turned into a makeshift war room. Corkboard maps, printouts of every missing person's case in the last 10 years that even remotely resembled Jake's. She highlighted every yellow cab accident in New York State since 2006. Made lists. Crossed out names. Waited for closure that never came. Friends drifted away. Her boyfriend left after 8 months of emotional paralysis. He said, "I can't compete with a ghost." She didn't blame him. She joined online forums, reaching out to other families of the missing. She learned the lingo: cold case, voluntary disappearance, unidentified remains. She hated all of it. Jake wasn't a folder in a box. In 2009, she drove 2 hours to follow up on a tip. Someone had spotted a man fitting Jake's description in Utica. She waited outside a bus station for hours, heart thudding. The man came. Wrong build, wrong eyes, wrong everything. She drove home in silence, parked, and cried on the floor for an hour without moving. By 2012, even the FBI reduced his file to inactive unless new information arises. But Emily never stopped. She believed, no, she knew, that Jake didn't choose to disappear. She felt it in her bones, in her dreams, in the way his favorite song still made her chest ache. Somebody pick him up, and that somebody never planned on dropping him off. April 2016, nearly 10 years after Jake vanished. Emily received a package. No return address. Postmark from Ohio. Inside, a faded photo of Jake, one she'd never seen before. A crumpled receipt from a gas station in Lima, Ohio, dated October 19, 2006, 2 days after Jake disappeared. And one haunting note, handwritten in shaky block letters. Ask about the man with the burned hands. She stared at the contents for hours. The photo showed Jake sitting on a curb, backpack slung over his shoulder, looking toward the camera, but not smiling. His eyes looked dull, tired, maybe drugged. The receipt was real. She verified it with the gas station. The store's records showed someone used cash and bought a single bottle of water and a pack of gum. No surveillance footage survived that long. The handwriting? The FBI couldn't match it to anyone in their databases. That same month, Emily met with Detective Aaron Bledsoe, the only officer who still took her calls. He hesitated, then shared something she'd never heard before. When we interviewed cab company dispatchers back in '06, one of them, Midtown Taxi, said they had a driver who went rogue sometimes. Didn't sign in. Drove under the table. Guy had some kind of accident back in the 90s. Severe burns on his hands. Scared a lot of people. Went by the name Del, short for Delvin or Dellsworth or something. He disappeared a few weeks after Jake did. Why hadn't this come up earlier? The file was incomplete. Lost in a system change, someone claimed. Or buried. Emily now had something she hadn't in years. A lead. One name. One man. Burned hands. A rogue driver. A face she'd never seen, but one she would never forget if she found him. And now she was going to start looking. March 2017, Cleveland, Ohio. A call came in to Emily's burner phone, the one she used strictly for leads. Blocked number. Male voice. Graveled. Nervous. You're looking for Delaware. I saw your flyer. I know what he did. Meet me at Wren's Diner, off Highway 6. Come alone. She didn't hesitate. The man was already seated when she arrived, flannel shirt, ball cap pulled low, nicotine-stained fingers shaking as he stirred his coffee. Name tag said Russ. I used to drive with Midtown, he said. Back then. Back when Dell still ran nights. The guy was weird. Quiet. Burned scars up and down both hands, like gloves of melted wax. He never talked unless you talked first. He lit a cigarette, hand trembling. I remember Jake, he said, voice softer now. Kid looked tired, like he hadn't slept in days. I was fueling up when I saw Dell pick him up. No lights on the roof. No meter. I thought it was odd, but Dell did that sometimes. Then Russ leaned in. 3 days later, I saw the car. Emily didn't breathe. Same yellow Crown Vic, but the paint was stripped. No plates. It was sitting in an old warehouse lot near Fortville. Like he was hiding it. I didn't ask questions. I didn't want to be next. Why tell me now, she asked. He looked up at her, eyes rimmed red. I'm dying. Stage 4 lung. Figured I'd carry enough ghosts already. Don't need his too. That week, Emily contacted Detective Bledsoe. They secured a search warrant for the Fortville warehouse, abandoned since 2010. Inside, under a rotting tarp and years of dust, they found a stripped yellow Crown Victoria, rusted and eaten with time, a cracked phone lodged between the seats, and beneath the trunk lining, a single blood-stained shoelace, double-knotted, matching the kind Jake always wore. DNA tests confirmed it. The blood belonged to Jake Mercer, and the phone's internal board, though damaged, still held a blurred photo in its memory. A shot taken from the passenger seat of a rear-view mirror. In that mirror, reflected perfectly, was a man's face. Pale, wrinkled, hands wrapped in bandages. Delvin Ross, real name confirmed 2 weeks later. Born 1955. Died 2009 of a stroke. Buried under an alias in upstate Pennsylvania. They were too late. Too late for Jake. Too late for justice. But not too late for the truth. April 2017, Albany, New York. Emily stood at the edge of Washington Park, where she and Jake used to feed ducks as kids. A cool wind whispered through the trees, carrying faint traces of spring. In her hands, she held a small wooden box, Jake's watch, his cracked phone, and the printed photo recovered from the cab. "You always wanted to leave this place," she whispered, eyes glistening. "I just never thought you'd go like that." She lowered the box gently into the lake, not to forget, but to release. Not his body, but what remained of his story. For nearly 11 years, Jake had been a shadow, a question mark on the edges of missing persons forums, a name on a bulletin board. Now, he was more than a mystery. He was real again. And Delvin Ross? The FBI traced his movements, a drifter with a history of assault, dismissed cab jobs, and psychiatric holds from the late 80s. He slipped through cracks, changed names, evaded systems. In the end, he didn't disappear Jake for money or revenge. He did it because he could. Because some people carry darkness that doesn't need a reason. The media dubbed it the missing taxi ride case, a brief flurry of headlines before fading into another archive tragedy. But for Emily, it wasn't over. She started a small foundation in Jake's name to help families of missing adults navigate cold cases. Counseling, resources, leads. She spoke at schools. She taught again part-time. Life didn't go back to normal. It just shifted. Because grief doesn't end. It evolves. It hardens and softens, swells and quiets. And sometimes it leads to something greater than pain. Final scene, October 17th, 2024. 18 years to the day since Jake vanished. Emily sits on her porch, a blanket over her knees, watching golden leaves fall. A young woman approaches with her own brother's case file, a quiet stranger hoping for help. Emily smiles softly and says, "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning." If this story left you speechless, imagine what's coming next. Subscribe for more true, haunting mysteries like this one.